Okay, guys, before I go into the watch list, I wanted to give a more complete version of the video from Friday when I talked about what I used to do for a living and basically how I became a full-time trader. And it all started with a battle on Twitter. Some Bernie Sanders socialist, I think, just assumes if I have anything to do with anybody has anything to do with the stock market or Wall Street, that we just woke up one day and we were day traders, right? Just magically, and we don't understand anything about any kind of struggle. And it really got under my skin. So I told my story a little bit in the video Friday. I'm going to tell, I think, the more complete version here, but I'm still going to try to keep it short. Okay, so if you're a day trader, you didn't just wake up that way, right? Just like if you're a school teacher, you didn't just wake up, poof, you're a school teacher. There's work involved, okay, and a lot of failures along the way. Any day trader who's successful now has failed many, many times and blown up at least one account. But they had the resolve to keep going. That is going to be a common thread with any day trader. But no, my dad wasn't a hedge fund manager. My dad was a compulsive gambler, a terrible husband, a compulsive cheater, and we grew up dirt poor. Mom worked as a preschool teacher and at night at Watlow Electric, I think it was in Maryland Heights, Missouri, making electric coils on machines. So she busted her ass. She came over here from Ireland when she was 16 years old by herself, and then built her life here. So really impressive story, but certainly no silver spoon here, okay? Anyway, so what I did before I started day trading, well, at one point when I was 19 years old, I had my own apartment, had bills to pay, and was just dead broke, eating literally green pepper sandwiches. I can still remember eating green pepper sandwiches because green peppers were all I had in the fridge, had no money. I took student loans, and I was in my first year of college in an apartment, University of Missouri in St. Louis, okay? So at no point, by the way, just this little side note, I never felt at that age, no one had ever told me, hey, so-and-so owes you. I never felt like the government owed me free college. I just took out loans and I was going to college. But at one point I was just so broke, I applied for a job and luckily got a job at General Motors. So but I ended up quitting college because the money was too necessary. So anyway, I ended up working at General Motors for 23 years. And along the way, probably right after the stock market crash in 2000, or the bubble, I guess. I don't even know if you call it bubble or a crash. You just call it the end of a bubble. The end of 2000, I started getting interested in stocks. And back then, the internet wasn't great. I ended up with buying an air card from Sierra Wireless, and had a laptop on the assembly line. Everyone has a little station that they work from. There's a little table, and I had a laptop on the assembly line. Sometimes you get a signal, sometimes you wouldn't. But all I wanted to do was learn charting. I wanted to learn how to trade. So I had all these little peripheral antennas, and a big factory, right? So there was, connection sucked, and sometimes you'd have charts, sometimes you wouldn't. I was actually starting to trade in that scenario. So for year after year after year, I would bring this laptop to work. And as I said in the other video, I would work ahead. You could work ahead like a car and a half. The cars are, if you ever seen an assembly line, the cars are slowly moving, and you've got a coiled air hose, so you can kind of work and stretch it to the as far as it'll go. And I got good enough at my job, so every few minutes I could earn myself like 35 seconds where I could just stand at my table and look at charts and watch the market go, assuming I had a signal and so on. So I literally did that for years. I think a lot of people thought I was crazy. As I said in my other video, I was really good at my job because I knew if I ever missed anything on my job, one bolt, whatever, the first thing they're going to do is say, well, that laptop's got to go. Most of my bosses were cool and looked the other way. As a matter of fact, they would come down and talk to me about stocks because they were interested too. Most people are interested, and they see the potential benefits, right, of learning to trade. So really good at my job. But anyway, after years, and by the way, I worked at 4 different plants. Wentzville, Missouri is where I started. I ended up going to Wilmington, Delaware because I had just gotten married, and Wentzville laid us off, and I didn't want to be without health insurance. I didn't want to be just on unemployment. So we took a job at another plant in Wilmington, Delaware. My wife and I moved to there. Then we went to Defiance, Ohio, which was a foundry where they pour iron, pour engine blocks, pour crankshafts, and so on. and then ended up at Fairfax, Kansas, the Kansas City plant. And the Kansas City plant is basically where I did all of my laptop teaching myself about the market and so on. Okay. So then one day, after doing that for years and getting pretty good, making some good trades, really dangerous trades because could have lost my connection at any time, but making some good trades and starting to figure some things out. I show up one morning, 4:30 in the morning is when I get up every day. The line starts at 6, so I show up about 5:45, and just one day out of the blue, after doing this for years, the security guard stops me. They would always open my laptop case and make sure that there's no bombs or guns or whatever they're looking for. Every morning, no big deal. But then one day, super security guard just says, "Hey, you can't have a laptop in here." I said, "I've been doing this for years. What do you mean I can't have it? I've been every day for years." He said, "Well, it's policy. Can't have it." So I said, "Okay, I'm going to go put it in my car." And it's 5:45 in the morning, still dark outside. Went to my car, and on the way to my car, I decided I'm never going back to General Motors. This is after 23 years because I was good enough at that point with stocks that I thought I could do it. And so got in my car, went home. My wife said, "What the hell are you doing?" I said, "Hey, they wouldn't let me have the laptop in. I had to choose." And that was it. That was the last day I ever worked at General Motors. I did go back and fill out some paperwork at personnel. I don't want you to think I just never went back. I went back and filled out some paperwork. They were offering buyouts, and after 23 years, I just walked away. So that's it. That's my story. That's how I ended up finally taking that leap, and it was kind of cool because it was really forced upon me. If that security guard hadn't stopped me, I probably would have just finished out my 30 years there, and never had this website, never been a full-time trader. So and in 2008/2000, beginning of 2009, when the world was going to hell and the market was crashing and everybody was panicking, we literally, at the day of the market being at its lowest, my family and I were moving to Florida, buying a 7-bedroom house while everyone else was freaking out, thanks to trading, right? And so I always knew what it could be. I always knew the potential of learning to trade. I just don't want anybody to think it comes easy to anybody, all right? So again, this Sanders guy got me fired up, and so I thought I would make a follow-up video and hopefully a little bit, at least finish the story, because the whole quitting part was my favorite part of the story, obviously. So let me go into the watch list now, and I'm sorry for my babbling. Just showing you the SPY here. The last couple days, very narrow range, not a lot going on, right? There were still some decent trades in the room though. And before I go into the watch list, I'm going to show you some of those trades just to give you an idea of what we do in the chat room, all right? SM, one of our moderators, Oki, gave the SM idea at 24.20. So this was what it looked like, 5-minute candles here. This is what it looked like, and it was coming back up through the 20-period moving average, 5-minute candles. Called it a 24.20. The thing I like about this entry, first of all, it took out the lows of the day, and you probably had sellers coming in, nice bounce off of the previous day's low, nice bounce off support there, and then it comes right back up. And the thing I like about this 24.20 entry, you're above that 20-period moving average, but you also look to the left, then you've got a potential high of day break, right? So people that were getting short here or selling, and next thing you know, it's breaking the highs of the day. That's pretty powerful, right? So anyway, he called it at 24.20 idea before it triggered, and a worst case stop, I think, was 15 cents below. And then you get the high of day break, and then you get the momentum. That was just a fantastic call by Oki. He took that, he scaled out, and then he went fishing. Okay, ORPN. I called this on just a 5-minute buy setup. It was gapping up, lower float stock, so it had my interest. Really nice volume for this stock at the open. It peaked out at 279 here, and then put in a lower high on 5. So I just called it on a 5-minute buy setup, 271, 259. Then you get the high of day break and a move all the way to 313. Another call was GBSN. Had to try this one twice. My first entry didn't work. It was 499. These are 2-minute candles. So 499 right there. It did go to 513. Normally on an early trade like that, I would have sold some, which I actually did sell some and get my stop to break even, but it came down so fast I ended up with a net loss on that one. But using 2-minute candles, then it's right back up to the day. My favorite thing to look for on low float gappers is, in short, this is oversimplification, but it's a good summary. I want to see sellers come in, and I want to see those sellers fail. So you do have that here about 6 minutes in. Okay, it popped up, sellers came in right here, right, and next thing you know, we're right back to the high. So if you get above this candle, all these sellers just failed, right? So I called it long again over this candle 514, right there, and then we get a move to over 6. So I made a killing on this trade, even though I took a small loss on that last one. So that was another entry on GBSN. And then lastly was PTCT. I'll go to 1 minute candles and show you why I called this where I called it. PCT, it's hard to say. PTCT had a huge move, then halted, right? Because of this huge move, it had a volatility halt, then came open here and ran to 780. And I just called this on a 1 minute buy setup. So you had a high and a lower high, so the entry was 764. The stop's kind of wide. I generally default to like a 30-cent stop if I don't have a good candlestick. There's no way I'm going to stop it all the way down here at 709. So my sort of go-to default on a trade like this is just 30 cents. Now, why do I have to know where I'm going to stop it? Because that helps me choose my position size, right? If I know I'm going to kill this for 30 cents, then I'll take the number of shares such that if I get hit, it's still within my loss tolerance for any given trade. So anyway, and then this thing rips all the way to over 10. So that is an example of some calls from the chat room and the reasons. Now, here's my list for Monday, and I'll finally be done babbling. I like this STX a lot. You gap down, and then today, or Friday, sorry, I'm actually making this on Saturday. On Friday, it did go down and take out the lows from January, but this is getting ahead of itself. And generally, when something moves a long way to take out an obvious recent support, when it gets below that, I start thinking reversal. All right, I start to look for a reversal down here. Now, I didn't trade this on Friday, but I really want to watch this for a bounce setup. And there's many different setups that I'll be looking for on Monday morning, so I'm not going to go into them here because everything matters on how the market opens and how things trade on an intraday basis. But STX has my attention for a potential bounce. DDD gapped up and ran, but then reversed, and now we're down almost at a gap fill. A lot of people might think this is still a short, and it may be, but I like this as a potential bounce and turn back up on Monday. Again, only with a proper setup. Fitbit, I think some people traded this in chat on Friday. We had it on watch for a potential third-day play. It did make a nice move. I'm pretty sure, let's go to 5 minute candles. I'm pretty sure somebody pointed out this flag right here, right there, or this next flag too. I'd have to go back and look at chat logs. I never traded Fit. But it's still, now it just goes on watch, okay? It did what I wanted it to do on Friday. I don't want to become a chaser, but you know what? We might get, like, it might trade in a narrow range for the opening half hour on Monday, and there's not a lot in the way above this. I'll get this old line off of there. There's not a lot in the way above this for this to possibly squeeze. So with a proper setup, I might take that one long. VRX is just coiling here. It looks like it's going to break one way or the other pretty soon. There it is on 15-minute candles. So it never broke its early high, even though it had this big afternoon spike on Thursday. And then it never broke its early high on Friday. What I'd like to see is Monday, open somewhere around here, sideways for a while, and then an upside break. Having VRX on watch, I mean, you can get a dollar a share in a blink if you catch the right entry. DRWI. I don't know, this one makes big moves at times. I'd like to see it maybe come in another day, but I'm going to just throw that one on watch because it makes big moves at times. I don't really love the setup. This SKYS that made this huge move is now kind of getting a little bit of buying. You see these little tails down here around 350, so I want to watch this one for a potential long. But it's really kind of lost its excitement. This move was amazing. We had some good trades in it. And now you can see the volume's gone down to 188,000 shares on Friday. So that makes me like it a lot less. If you listen to my videos, one thing I really look for is stocks that have had recent high relative volume. And what I mean by recent, I really like it to be the last few days. All right. And this one is really dying down. But, you never know. It could come out of the blue. And then PTCT, I showed you this one from Friday. Got to watch this one for a potential red to green and another move. I mean, this monster breakout, monster volume above a lot of trading there, above the last 6 weeks worth of trading. So that one might have a follow-through day. And that is PTCT, couple more, I think, ORPN. I talked about this one on Friday. I want to watch this one again. Even though it gave back a lot of its gains, it still stayed above the open. And again, you might get a quiet move there. So that one's interesting. LEI has not broken a previous day's high now in about a week. It's back to the 8-day. We'll keep that one on watch, especially if oil can catch a bid. ARGS. Now this one's extended, but after this huge topping tail, right? It put in an inside day and closed near its highs. That one might have another day in it, so I want to watch that one too. And AEZS. Okay, this one can make big moves at times, as you can see here, here, and then if you zoom in a little bit. So then you had this 2-day spike to 449. Long sideways consolidation and a little bit of a breakout on Friday. Lower float stock, so it's interesting to me. Over Friday's high would be my first potential catalyst, 436. Looking to the left, then if you can get to 436, if you can get over 450, this high was 449, this one could get a squeeze. So I kind of like that setup. And then lastly, UNXL. Sorry for being long-winded today. UNXL, I was watching this flag break, and then it did it this day. But you know what? It's holding up pretty well. And you do have catalysts to the left, right? You've got some other recent highs, but not a lot in the way other than that. So I want to watch this one. I mean, it looks interesting over $1.50. It might just take out these $1.59 highs and then really break out. So that's it. That's way too much talking. 16-minute video. My apologies. I'll leave it at that, guys. Have a great rest of your weekend. And we'll talk to you on Monday.